Hey guys, it's Josh with Battle Bond here. I'm here with Teslin, and we're gonna play some Batman for you. So Teslin's playing Penguin today, and he's gonna go over his list and what all his models have.
For my list, I have the Arkham City Penguin with two free agents because he buffs them. Mad Hatter, Mr. Toxic, and then for henchmen we have the Bodyguard, um, Shane. We have Tanner, the assault rifle guy. We have Lark, the other bodyguard. We have the Elite Thug with a freeze ray equipped, and then we have a biker guy with a crossbow.
And then for my list, I'm gonna be bringing Batman. So this is gonna be my stand-in for classic Batman because I like this model better. We have classic Robin, who has martial artist. We have Loretta, Officer Merkel, GCPD Cop 2 with an antidote because I had 50 points left to spend. GCPD Cop 1, GCPD Detective with a radio, my stand-in for Officer 1, and my stand-in for Officer Martinez. Okay, so coming back to you guys after deployment. So here is kind of an overview of the battleground. Here's our light and sewer placement. Here's what we ended up for scenario and event. So Teslin's one model that's delayed is going to be Mad Hatter. I don't have anyone more than 50 besides my boss, so I don't have to worry about that. And then both of us are secured the area. Models that are going to come in later are there. And then so for deployments, so I ended up, as you guys can see, across this way. So there's Loretta and GCPD Cop 1, and they're kind of staring down one of the Penguin guys. And then over here, Teslin deployed nothing, but I decided to put my detective in his deployment zone. And then this is where the bulk of my force has gone. And then we can see across this way, there is the Penguin and the rest of his force. And there's the guy up on the roof again. Okay, so for round one, Batman won the roll off to go first. So my audacities are assigned to Batman, Robin, Loretta, GCPD Cop 1, so the two guys that are over here by themselves not getting inspired. And then Teslin.
I have it for Penguin, Mr. Toxic, the assault rifle guy, and then the Elite Thug with the freeze ray.
Yeah, who are all back here in his deployment zone still. And then Teslin played a phase 2 card, so smuggled goods. And because we have opposite corners, his smuggled goods container ended up right there. So right by his deployment where you can see it. Okay, so first activation of the game was GCPD Cop 1, and he just moved from where he was over there to over behind this garbage truck to hide from our guy with his big gun over there. And in doing so, he decided to drop a snitch. Right where you see it. So hopefully we'll be able to score that. Okay, Teslin, why don't you just tell us what you did here?
Shane moved up 8 inches, put down a suspect marker, and then for my objective card, I played Profitable Negotiation,
Okay.
which I choose a card from Josh's hand, which I chose this. If he doesn't score it by the end of the round, I'll score my card.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, let's see how we follow up. Okay, so something else we forgot to mention is that during Teslin's activation, he used, quote unquote, a business counter to use his disturbance card that he brought to block off this sewer. So back over to Batman, and all that happened was This cop walked up, put a suspect where you see it. Okay, what was the next activation for the penguin?
All right, so we had bodyguard Thug 6 just move up, place a suspect, and then with a business counter, I used call an ambulance to put medical supplies down.
All right. Okay, so back over to Batman's activation. So as you can see, there's no one left in the deployment zone over here. So that means our lovely guy over here won't be able to shoot anyone. So Loretta just moved up over here and dropped the suspect for shenanigans in the future, hopefully. Okay, so take us through your next activation.
Yeah, the assault rifle guy had nobody to shoot, so he just moved across, placed the suspect marker, get into position. I did use another business counter for Die Hard to put down the Wayne Tech, just in case I need it in the future.
And in case you guys are wondering why there's no resources or anything being played on the Batman side, it's because I can't. So hopefully things pick up here in the next little bit. Okay, so in my next activation, I activated the GCPD detective, and because he has a radio, he's inspired, so he's able to put a suspect down for free, which he did over here. And then with his tactical activation, he put down another suspect over here for obvious reasons. Okay, so back over to Batman's activation. So we actually forgot that this cop over here was supposed to have a scout move, so it just did it right now and just moved her over to about right here, which obviously nothing would have been impacted by that whatsoever. So we activated her, and she just moved from where she was. She was inspired there, and she just moved and placed a suspect. And that's it. So far, no dice have been rolled this game. Okay, so tell us about Penguin's next activation.
So Lark just moved up. She went to my suspect marker, revealed it. I played valuable commodities, and because of Penguin, he has Underworld King. I was able to put out 2 money bags. So the assault rifle guy and her are gonna be carrying 2 money bags.
Okay, so back over to Batman. So Merkel moved up where you can see him, dropped a suspect, and I now have 7 of my 8 on the board. And I'm mostly doing that because I know Penguin needs a lot of suspects to be able to score a bunch of his cards. So I'm trying to put out as many as possible to keep that as hard as possible for him.
So for my next activation, I chose Penguin. Penguin mobbed to move Elite Thug 4 inches up, and then he just moved up to Lark and activated with his handyman that Wayne Tech.
All right. So the only models left for the Batman crew are Batman and Robin. So I guess we'll see what they get up to next. Okay, so it was time for Batman to get into the action. So what he did was he started over here, used his back claw, came all the way over to here. He used Vigilante's work to take an effort to put down that suspect that you see. And then he decided to throw his Batlings over at Lark, who is based Penguin, so got cover because of that. So Batman was only rolling 2 regular dice with his Batlings against her defense 4 and missed with both.
Okay, for my next activation, Mr. Toxic moved up 10. And then Josh played a resource card.
Yeah, so the resource from Secure the Perimeter. And what I did was I used the suspect that I had placed earlier there with Batman to target Mr. Toxic with a ranged attack. The only hit that got through was the strength die, but it was also a crit, so he took 1 blood, 1 stun, and knocked him down.
And that ended his activation because he can't do anything else.
So hooray for that. Okay, so the last activation of the round for the Batman crew was Robin. So what he did was he moved up to about here, and that put him within 8 inches of Mr. Toxic. He threw some Batlings, and only the strength die hit, so only 2 more stun got put on him. And then he coordinated Batman, who was over here, to move over here around this corner. And then Robin used his fast 3 to move back 3 inches. And that's how you can see it. So one more activation for the round, and that'll be the completion of round 1.
For this activation, Elite Thug just moved up his full 10 inches. He put down a suspect marker, and he used his equipment, the freeze ray, to freeze Robin. Robin failed his roll, so he's now frozen.
And that's it for the round. So we'll go over scoring, and then we'll get into round 2. Okay, so end of round scoring. Batman scored, secured the perimeter, took off the suspect that was over here, one of the ones that the detective put down over there, and then other one was the snitch, which was the suspect that was put down over there. Penguin, their only card scored was profitable negotiation, because obviously I did not arrest the model. Okay, so round 2, start things off. Batman won priority, so that's nice. So Audacity is going to be on Batman, Robin, Loretta, and GCPD Officer 1. And then Mad Hatter was brought in on this board edge. This detective was brought in, getting rid of that suspect. For Penguin's side, he brought in his crossbow guy, getting rid of the suspect that was over there. And we had a couple cards that were played. So for Batman, Unveiling the Truth was played, and it was played on this detective over here. And then for Penguin, we have Smuggled Goods again, and that marker is just going where it was the first time. And then also Territory Fight. So we'll see how those play out. And I think to start things off, Batman is going to be doing the very first activation of the round. Okay, so to kick things off, Batman moved to where you can see him, and he punched the Penguin Elite Thug there, was able to do enough stun to knock him out, and he used his Vigilante's work to move the token back. Didn't score any cards or anything from that, but at least it takes a pretty hard melee threat off the board for right now. Teslin, why don't you tell us what happened with your first activation of the round?
All right, and I chose Mad Hatter to go. He was within 8 inches of a suspect marker, so he tried to mind control Loretta, and he failed. So he put down a suspect marker, and he played a objective card.
So he put out Profitable Negotiations, and then the card he chose from my hand was Get Them Off the Streets. Because right now I don't really have anyone with arrest with Audacity. So probably a good choice. Okay, so the next activation for the Batman crew was Merkel, who put down a suspect thanks to being inspired by Batman, and he then decided to shoot his gun at the crossbow guy just sitting here. Hit with everything, did 6 stun, and knocked him out. So that's 2 models for Penguin knocked out and 2 activations from Batman. Still no cards scored, though.
For my second activation, I activated Mr. Toxic. He stood up from being knocked down, walked up to Batman, tried to fight him, and whiffed.
And still no cards scored on either side. Okay, so next activation for Batman was Loretta, who moved up over here. Now he had a few good targets, but decided to settle on the sniper up on the building there. Took 3 shots, missed with 2 of them, hit again with one of the ones that missed with his red dot reroll, and then had to reroll because of the ability this guy has, and missed again. So at the end of the day, did 2 blood. So an epic whiff from Loretta.
For this activation, Shane walked up to Batman and stabbed him with his knife, and he actually got some hits through.
Yeah. So Merkel had the bodyguard for him, so ended up being no more extra damage on Batman, but 3 blood and 1 stun on Merkel for bodyguarding and taking all the hits for him. And then Teslin played Territory Fight as a resource. And what he did was he moved the suspect that Merkel put down earlier here, base to base with Shane, who revealed it thanks to being inspired from Penguin when he started his activation. And I countered with a resource from Comb Through Everything. So because he revealed that, I put down a suspect of my own again to replace that one. So just put one base to base with Robin. Okay, so next activation for Batman was Robin. He tried to unfreeze himself but couldn't, so just wasted his entire activation.
For my next activation, Lark went. She ran up to Batman and targeted him as attack, which I threw an objective out to give Josh a choice to either Batman does an effort or remove suspect markers. And if any suspect markers are removed, I score, which he chose not to let me score. She hit and she knocked out the bodyguard.
Yep, poor Merkel took all the stun, so now he is KO. And no cards were scored. All right, so for Batman's next activation, GCPD Cop 2 went, and she just dropped a suspect, which was turned into a snitch right by her.
Okay, so the assault rifle guy that was on the building first took shots at Batman, missed, then decided to run off to the other side of the building and put a suspect marker for free from Penguin's Inspire.
Okay, so for Batman's next activation, Officer Martinez over there just used his detective trait, dropped a suspect right over here.
Alright, for this activation, Bodyguard just moved up and placed a suspect marker.
Okay, so for Batman's next activation, we just had GCPD Cop 1 move from there over to there to hopefully get into some action next round.
Yep, my last activation was Penguin. He started off right here. He activated Mob, made Shane attack Batman, which whiffed. He decided to walk through the sewer with Handyman, showed up here, and shot his freeze gun at Girl Cop, which killed her, and it bounced up to the other Detective Martinez.
Yeah, so he took 2 blood and 1 stun from that. Okay, so the next activation for GCPD was GCPD Officer 1, who started out over here. And we checked it earlier, and she wasn't in Inspire range of Batman. So she moved from there, base to base with Penguin, attacked him, managed to get 1 stun through, and then put a suspect down. Again, scoring no cards. Okay, so final activation of the round went to Batman, and it was the GCPD detective. So you revealed the suspect that was there originally, which put 2 stun on Unveiling the Truth, and then also allowed me to play valuable commodities. So he now has the loot. And then again, because he has a radio, so he's inspired by Batman. So he put down another suspect right in front of him.
If you like what you're watching, consider giving the channel a like and subscribe. And if you feel like helping us out, check out our shop at etsy.com/shop/battlebond miniatures, where we sell a variety of proxies for various tabletop war games, as well as terrain to go with it. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so going into round 3, the Penguin crew won the role to go first this time. As far as Batman Audacities go, so we put 1 on Batman, 1 on Loretta. We did 1 on GCPD Officer 1, who is base to base with Penguin, and then 1 on Officer Martinez, who is also staring him down over here. And then for the Penguin side,
I going on Penguin, on Mr. Toxic, Lark, and Doug 6.
okay,
And because of my business counters, Josh gets to choose one of these, but this is the only one that matters. You can put Innervate in one on one of my models.
right, so that's going to be on Lark. And then 2 cards were played on the Penguin side. So another territory fight and a smuggled goods.
And the smuggled goods are right here.
So let's see how things go with Penguin's first activation.
Okay, first activation of Lark. She attacked Batman, played an objective card. Everyone has a price. Josh got me to remove 2 suspects, so I scored it. And because Batman was so outnumbered, she needed 2s to hit. She ended up knocking him out.
Okay, so first activation for Batman was Loretta, who started over here by the car. He just shot up at the other thug with the gun up there, killed him outright, and then ran over here to hopefully help out his friends.
This activation, I chose Shane. Shane just walked up to Mirko while he was knocked down and macheted him while he was defenseless. killing him.
Yeah, Batman is losing cops left and right now. Okay, so the next activation for Batman was Officer Martinez, who moved over here, um, used Unveiling the Truth as a resource, and removed the suspect that was right there to get a free manipulate. Then attacked Penguin, who got dropped to defense 2 for being outnumbered, managed to do 3, stunned him, and then thanks to the Unveiling the Truth resource, put another suspect down right there using detective.
So next activation, I chose Penguin. Penguin was here. He moved back here, shot his freeze ray at the girl, outright killed her. It bounced to him, did some damage. With Handyman, he teleported over to this sewer. And then with Mob, he ordered Shane to move over to Batman and start stabbing him while he's down, doing 4 blood.
Okay, so next Batman activation, decided to see if Robin could break out of his freeze. He couldn't, so he's doing nothing.
Okay, for this activation, crossbow guy stood up and he's in spire range. He threw a suspect down.
And then for Batman's, the detective here revealed the suspect that was there, put 2 more counters on Unveiling the Truth, and then dropped the snitch where you see it.
For this activation, Mad Hatter just walked 8 inches, put down a suspect marker with Handyman.
So last activation of the round for Batman was just this cop walking over base to base with the sewer.
And then for me, the bodyguard went through the sewer, came out to him and attacked him. And because Josh's cop efforted, I scored overdrive.
And no damage was actually done to the cop.
For this activation, Mr. Toxic went. He just walked over Batman and then turned his punches into blood and just killed Batman here.
Okay, so end of round wrap up. So the only card scored for Penguin was Territory Fight. The only card scored for Batman was Snitch. And then the Penguin Elite Thug is still KO. So on to the final round of the game. Let's see how it plays out. Okay, so starting off round 4, the Batman crew won the role to go first. And Loretta, who is now the new boss, decided to go from where he was, just about over here, and he went base to base with this thug here and tried to punch him, needing 2s, rolling all but one of them as a 1, and it was blocked, so it did no damage. And then because he inspires himself, he decided to manipulate the sewer and pop out over here.
So for this next activation, Mr. Toxic went. He's making use of Penguin's I bought this place to be inspired as if he was a henchman. He walked up to the sewer, manipulated it, popped out over here by Martinez, tried to use an electric storm to do an AoE all around him, failed, so decided to punch Martinez, which knocked him out.
Okay, so the next activation for the Batman crew was Robin, who tried to free himself from the ice, but couldn't, remain frozen, so wasted activation there again.
For this activation, Thug 6 just beat up on the cop and knocked him out.
Okay, so with that one cop being knocked out, that left the Batman crew with one other activation, which was the detective over here, who just put down a suspect to get all 8 out. And unfortunately, the Batman crew's cards were at a point where there was nothing that could be scored. So we just played out the rest of the Penguin activations, and with everything else going into the end of the round here, Penguin's going to end up scoring the smuggled goods, which is over there. And then the territory fight, obviously I can't contest that with only 2 models up. And then valuable commodities. And then I was able to draw into secure the perimeter, so we'll get that for Batman. And then the valuable commodities for Batman as well. So we'll come back with the final score and final thoughts, I guess. Okay, so we'll just zoom in on the man who killed Batman himself, Mr. Toxic. So going through, the final score was 13 for Batman and 23 for Penguin. As far as final thoughts go, the freeze on Robin was a huge deal. If he would have been able to break out of that, Batman would have been moved, and then with coordination, and he would have basically been in the entire game. There wouldn't have been any ganging up on him or anything like that. So other than that, it was just a matter of a really terrible, terrible hand for Batman not being able to score. I was barely even drawing snitches, let alone anything else that would have let me interact with him and score some cards. So, Teslin, what are your thoughts?
I found that the Batman, him not having martial artists was pretty detrimental. I would have thought that the classic Batman would have had that. I would have kept him from being ganged up on. Otherwise, yeah, it was at the beginning of the game. It seemed like Batman was pulling ahead until they just got ganged up, and Robin never got out of that freeze.
Yeah, so like I said, that freeze was pretty critical. Where is he? The failure of the match right here, Robin. So yeah, if it wouldn't have been for that, like I said, Batman would have been out, and he actually would have been able to KO some more thugs like he did in the first round there. But I mean, that's how it goes. Also, again, not drawing the right cards for when I needed them. So unfortunately, it just means that Penguin lives to take over this section of Gotham, unfortunately. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving us a like, a subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you in the next battle.